The story of Venezuelan oil is, well, it's pretty wild. It's a story of a dramatic, almost unbelievable collapse, but also some really surprising connections, especially with the United States. So let's dive in and break down why this whole situation matters on a global scale. Okay, just look at this chart. Back in the early 2000s, Venezuela was an absolute oil giant. I mean, they were pumping out nearly 3 times as much oil as Texas. But then, fast forward to 2020, and the tables have completely, and I mean completely, turned. Venezuela's production just falls off a cliff, while Texas skyrockets. So what on earth happened here? And maybe more importantly, why should we care about this reversal? Well, the key to this whole story, it's not just oil. Not in the way we usually think about it. The secret to this entire geopolitical puzzle is a very specific kind of crude oil, heavy crude oil. And here it is. See that stuff on the left? That's heavy crude. It's this thick, viscous, kind of goo-like mixture. You can just tell by looking at it, right? It's going to be way harder and a lot more expensive to do anything with compared to the lighter, easier stuff on the right. Yeah, so getting this stuff out of the ground isn't easy. You need some pretty advanced and pretty expensive tech, things like steam injection. The problem is, after years of sanctions, Venezuela's oil infrastructure is, to put it mildly, struggling. It's old, it's falling apart, and that makes getting this super challenging resource out of the ground, well, incredibly difficult. Okay, so this brings up a really good question, right? The US is a massive oil producer in its own right. So why on earth would it be so interested in this specific, super difficult to process oil from Venezuela? Well, the answer, it reveals something pretty surprising about America's own energy situation. It all comes down to this number, around 70%. Because today, that's the percentage of all US crude oil imports that are, you guessed it, heavy crude. The country has become hugely dependent on this one specific type of oil. And this chart, wow, it really shows you just how massive that shift has been. If you look back to the 1980s, heavy crude was just a tiny slice of US oil imports. Now, it completely dominates the picture. So you've got the US needing more and more heavy crude, and guess who has billions and billions of barrels of it? This is where it all clicks into place. It's this perfect lock-and-key situation. On the left, you've got Venezuela's Orinoco Belt. It's home to the biggest reserves of heavy crude in the world. That's the key. And on the right, you've got the U.S. Gulf Coast, which just so happens to have some of the world's biggest and most advanced refineries. Refineries that were literally built to process that exact type of oil, the lock. I love this quote. It just captures the whole thing perfectly. Controlling Venezuelan energy is like holding the keys to the world's largest gas station, uniquely designed to fuel specific heavy-duty trucks, U.S. refineries. It's this unique dependency, you know? The U.S. has the special refineries, Venezuela has the perfect crude to match, and whoever gets to control that supply chain, well, that's immense power. Okay, but let's zoom out for a second, because this goes way beyond just the US and Venezuela. The stakes here are genuinely enormous. This is a global issue. 303 billion. That's the number. 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. That's what Venezuela is sitting on. To put that in perspective, that is more than any other country on the entire planet. Yeah, even more than Saudi Arabia. About 20% more, actually. So you can see, controlling these reserves, this isn't just about gas for our cars. This is about fundamentally shifting the entire balance of global power. It's about getting major leverage over rivals like China. It's about being able to influence the stability of the entire world's economy. And yeah, for the US, it's about getting back some incredibly profitable imports. And let's talk about that leverage for a second. Take China. Right now, they are the single largest buyer of Venezuelan oil. So you can imagine, right? Any change in who controls that spigot, well, that gives you a whole lot of influence over one of your biggest geopolitical rivals. And really, when you get down to it, the impact of something this big would be felt by pretty much everyone. Any major shift in who controls Venezuelan energy is going to send massive ripples through the entire global economy. We're talking stocks, commodities, bonds, even crypto. But, and you knew there was a but, just when you think this story can't possibly get any bigger, it turns out all this talk about oil has been hiding another prize, one that's just as massive. 200 trillion. That is the estimated cubic feet of natural gas reserves that Venezuela is sitting on. 200 trillion. And here's the real kicker. A huge chunk of these reserves are completely, totally unexplored. We're talking about a colossal, untapped source of energy. So that's where we land. Venezuela doesn't just have the world's biggest oil reserves, it also has some of the largest untapped natural gas reserves. You put those two together, and you are literally talking about the single largest energy prize on the planet. And that leaves us with one final really big question. Who gets to decide its future?